Over the weekend, there have been a lot of discussion on social media as regards to, of course, the hashtag #EndRape culture was trending. But we want to talk about what came out strongly out of those discussions is consent and the fact that the lines have been blurred in that regard. And so we want to try to unpackage this for you today. Remember, the hashtag to use is ManCave. The SMS line is 22422. I guess we'll begin with you, Sheila, on your thoughts on this.
It was a very disheartening weekend to learn that a lot of guys actually don't understand what consent is, or they hide behind the mask of consent nini. Once you come to my digs, you have consented. And so you know, when this hashtag #EndRape culture happened over the weekend and you're reading all the tweets, it turns out that most of the perpetrators are guys, the ones who don't understand consent. But then they're the ones who are quick to judge the victim. You know, there was an incident this weekend and the lady came out and gave her story, but she was being attacked as to why did she take herself to the guy's house? You know, I mean, are we dealing with wild animals? We're not. When I come to your house, there's a level of decorum. If we have agreed to do something, I have the right to change my mind. I do have the right to change my mind. So I feel the lines are not blurry. We just need to be decent human beings. Yeah.
I mean, it's a very sensitive topic, honestly. Yeah? And I think fact is fact. Anything you do without a lady's permission should not be given any respect. And for me, it should not be even discussed. To discuss the extreme would be a waste of time, because I think it's all about punishment. If the punishment is extreme, you start curbing certain problems. Yeah? So, I mean, how many things have been banned? Watch a mamoza shisha. You just make a rule and a law that actually really works on perpetrators, and people take it seriously. But we don't have to get there. There's something that the pastor always comes here, he removes the Bible, starts from page 59. Some of the verses, the book of information, or the Bible, as what others will call it. And of course, I think he makes up some of his verses. Some of them are made in his house. However, he always has a point that, you know, discipline starts with ourselves as individuals, right? I think the biggest challenge here is where did it go wrong? Is it just because of social media that we're hearing these stories and men have always been this bad? Or have they gotten the wrong message? When I say the wrong message, it's in the sense that because of certain behavior in women, where women have started saying, I don't go with this kind of guy, women have started setting standards. Let's use those words. Our mothers were very humble, submissive women. Today's women are very independent and hard-standing. Very hard-standing. And because they're hard-standing, they have made certain conditions that they want in their life. Me, I don't go with guys who do this, I don't do this and that. So because there are certain conditions, what men try to do is tick those boxes, then think that once they've ticked those boxes, I have bought, I have purchased. Sex is no longer beginning to be traded. Remember, I kept saying this. As it's no longer being traded as part of a relationship. It's being traded as a commodity. It's being weighed on a weighing machine. So once someone thinks that they have paid for something, they believe that it is upon you to give me what I paid for. And they're getting the wrong direction from certain women, and I will say 5% or 3% are spoiling 97% of what women have worked at achieving, by making it look like there's a commodity on sale. There's no commodity on sale. And us men should not take that thinking that hii ni duka umekuja kununua kitu. And I think that's where the misunderstanding is.
You know, I feel like, Roy, you have diverted the conversation. Because I remember we said we're talking about consent. Because you can't say that there are some chiles who have spoiled for some guys. When a man decides, or a boy decides...
I said 2 or 3%, the percentage is very expensive.
Yeah, when you decide to... Because it's not even women who are affected by this. And that's why I said the perpetrators, majority of them are guys.
Of course.
Guys don't want to have the conversation about... Because ladies, we do have this conversation. And the conversation when we're raised is, protect yourself. Don't take yourself to such places. Avoid guys who look like this, nini. On the other hand, what are guys telling each other? When a Chile comes out and says, okay, this guy did A, B, C, D, E, the first thing is major shame. Because everybody who's going, like this story, perfect example of this lady who came out and said, these guys did this without consent. She's being told, why did you take yourself there? Number 2, you go to the police station, they're even like, kwa nini nyinyi wasichana wa siku hizi? So the judgment is so much. The process of getting justice is so much. And it all begins with the people. Yani, we have guys who have friends who have rapey tendencies. You know them. The guy is in the club trying to buy that chile who's really drunk, an extra shot. That guy, so many times you have had stories that he's working chile in people's drinks. And you don't have a conversation with that guy. You say these chiles are extorting. So you're continuing to carry the culture. This guy will teach the next guy. Or he'll teach even you guys how to do this. Because you hear this incident, these 2 guys planned. How do 2 guys just plan to do something like this? So for me, my issue is we need to go back to the drawing board. Let's talk about punishment and everything. Guys, have this conversation. You don't know what consent is.
You're saying guys are not talking about it. Although I want to mention before I speak, you know, the fact that I guess what he was trying to say is the way society has evolved over time is that because of the standards or lack thereof that have been created by women, men feel
which is wrong,
that nikisha kuwa na pesa, nikisha fanya hivi na hivi, ama as you're saying, nikisha mbaya drink ni hivyo.
I've gotten consent.
That's what I think I was trying to say. But no, is it true that do you think that men are also not talking about it as much?
Yeah. It means men are looking for an excuse not to talk about it, because first of all, it comes to grip with those things that we always avoid discussing. Yeah. Guys would be a bit resistant about seeing the bad side of us guys. You know, you want to say, she's telling us, do you have a friend? He was rapist tendencies.
Rapist tendencies.
No. Let me tell you the first shocking thing, Sheila, you don't know about us guys, is the fact is, the worst, you don't see the worst coming. I'll just let you know about men. The most poisonous snakes are the quietest snakes. The most poisonous snakes are not the colorful ones. The colorful ones use their color to scare you. So basically, the guys who, a lot of the surprises and shocks that come from this, it's not the guys we think would. It's actually the opposite. So we don't have friends who generally we say, hey, these are my friends, and I put them in categories. These are the ones who are good manners, minapendanga win were bad manners. No. We expect a common behavior, common courtesy amongst all our guys. The surprising fact is the bad ones actually don't see them coming most of the time. Having the discussion, we're not having the discussion. Why are we not having the discussion? We're looking for excuses not to have that discussion. Very clearly, we're saying that we are now looking for the excuses which I said. Remember I said, I think we agreed from the beginning that men are responsible for this. That is where we started. Not that most men, most of the cause. I mean, the moment you have a rape incident, I mean, the person doing it is definitely the person responsible. It's not about sharing responsibility. What I'm saying is that they're looking for an excuse. The 2 or 3% of the women who have now changed sex to a commodity now have given these guys an excuse to refuse to have that discussion. Because why? Because then they think it's something I trade off or pay for. Yeah, we have to go back, and I agree with you in honestly having a discussion where we discuss whether we have the right to because we have paid for. Then women go and have a discussion for, we will turn against whether you're paid or not paid. We will come out hard against it. Also us as individuals, because a lot of what is happening is guys are using horrible excuses about delayed reaction. Right? When a case comes out, what happens? If there's a delay, what happens? The empathy goes from men. The empathy goes from society. The girl starts being judged. You get my problem. That's why it starts coming out. Yeah, there are all sorts of excuses, but we have been going all around in full circle. But I'll tell you, the guys are 100% guilty, right? We just have been given excuses to look for and work on and apply.
I just want to come back to my point on
I think one of the biggest worries for me is that sex is not being respected as an entity first. It starts there, Willis. Sex, the moment sex was reduced to a commodity, the respect and discussion around it is what messed things up.
Okay, I just want to clarify something. A rapist is not an ordinary human being. I need you to understand that. It's like someone who's a murderer, you don't say someone made them a murderer. Those are just tendencies you have within, inside you. When I say that guys have friends who have rapey tendencies and you still accommodate them, it's not that, okay, fine, it came as a surprise. But there's a lady who come and said, you know that friend of yours, what he did to ABCDE? And like, hey, Njoro, Oh, okay, that's good to know. But you don't sit down as men and hold Njoro accountable.
Yes.
You say that, Njoro will come and tell you that Chile is trying to extort me. You don't sit down and have an honest conversation. Chiles are always trying to extort guys, yeah? Even when you meet a guy on the street in the darkness and they take you to an alley, chances are you're trying to extort him. Chances are you are wearing the wrong outfit. Chances are you're the one who, there are some girls out there who messed up, so you have to bear the brunt. Let me flip the table for you. Statistics are now showing that men are also getting molested and raped by their fellow friends. Willis calls you for a drink. Are you going to judge that when you come to the table, find the mzinga there halfway? Are you going to now say, no, let me get my own mzinga? No, you trust Willis. He puts away something in your drink. He carries you from the club. Which bouncer is going to stop him from taking you out of the club? It's like, there are two boys. Yeah, this guy is drunk. He takes you to his digs. The next morning you wake up on his couch. Who are you going to have that conversation with? The same guy who's also on social media judging everybody else for extortion. So you, which guy messed for you?
Right.
What I'm saying is, the perpetrators don't want to have the conversation. Imagine if there's a thief in this house. A thief. Don't you think would have dealt with that issue quickly? But when it comes to an issue of rape, it's because or sexual harassment, which happens in offices. Your boss, your wife is working in an office. The boss just grabs her ass, but because she doesn't want to create problems in the house, she's not going to say it. You go to a public setting, and a guy is telling you, hey, making sexual jokes at you, and that's harassment. So these are the conversations we're talking about. It's not anything that the ladies did.
No, I agree that we're not having the conversation. Remember, that's not the first thing is men are not having the conversation. I said they've looked for excuses not to have that conversation. So
Why?
we've already agreed.
Why?
Because that's in the nature of men. They're evasive about things that make them either look weak or submissive. And I'm telling you, I'm just saying it in the nature of them. I am not saying it's right, Sheila. When I say something is the reason, it doesn't mean I agree with the reason. It just means I recognize the reason.
The problem.
Yeah, that is why the problem is. And I know this is why they're doing this, but I don't agree with it. Yeah? Because guys will sit there and they cannot come to terms with, I'm going to now subject my friend to a lot of victimization. Men are like that, right? What is worse in this, I've said what is worse, yeah? Not worse, sorry, it's not worse, because the action itself is the worst part of everything. I'm just saying where there's a gap that's beginning to happen is, I think in the general relationships and where there's an opportunity for a wider discussion is how we're treating sex. As a commodity, I have paid for. Because the time this has been brought up by a few guys who are brave enough to go and take Onyango, his friend with the biggest muscles, and call him aside and tell him, hey boss, you did this and this. And you managed to have that conversation. You're brave enough for once in your life, you don't fear him for whatever reason. But that day you have that conversation. One thing that starts coming out, Willis, and you've noticed that is what I did or what I have done for, and therefore I have the right to this lady and she has abused that right. He wouldn't say that he did the action, and then he wouldn't say. But the fact that there's a gap he's using to help on the topic, which is because we have paid for, or because we are handling, or because we are managing, therefore we have an excuse to. Then I'm saying is, one thing is with those men who are already animals, don't even give them a hint. It has to be clear from the onset. From now, I think women need to reaffirm themselves clearly that the fact is, you have no right because you pay for, or because that's the direction these animals are coming from. They think because they have paid for something or have dealt with something. Look at most of the excuses. Walienda ukombali, alikuwa anajitafutia nini, alikuwa amemlipia, walikuwa na yeye for how many weeks. That's where the story comes from. Then about being quiet is both sides. Though I think men need to initiate the discussion amongst ourselves because we're the source of the problem. And then women need to now stamp it and say, I felt bad, I didn't. No, it's actually the victim's friends who need to be the ones standing up, not expecting the victim to talk.
What was disturbing for me, Sheila, is even in this conversation, if you're using the weekend, and even the ones that have come from the past, is that among the, let's, for lack of a better word, I'll call it commentary that has been there, is that there are women attacking women.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is so?
So, just first let me take it a bit back. We have to realize that every single time we sit here, we talk about all sorts of issues. We realize that all this stems from the fact that men are not having conversations with each other.
That's right.
Sisters are being each other's keeper.
Okay.
So we'll have chamas where we discuss how to empower and enrich ourselves. Guys are just going to sit there and have drinks in the bar, or whatever other activities you're doing where you're not talking to each other. So all these things that we're talking about this is just bad behavior. It is really bad behavior that we have managed to get away with for so long, but women are just saying enough is enough. Yeah, because, and the fact, you know, what scares me about this whole conversation is, guys, you don't have brothers and you don't have sisters, you don't have an aunt, you don't have a girlfriend. Statistics show that 5 out of 10 women in Kenya have experienced either molestation, rape, and or some level of harassment. In fact, harassment goes up to 9 out of 10. You understand? So it's not women harassing women. It's not women harassing men. Okay, there are those statistics. But even men, how many stories are we hearing of guys also being fanyiwa things by their bosses? The issue of those women attacking other women, EO2 is issues. You've got your own personal issues that you're projecting on Nini. Because the truth is, a victim is a victim. And the worst thing, why don't women want to talk about it? Because you don't want to be made a victim. Going through the act of that, whatever, is already... It's saddening enough. You want to find strength out of that, and now everybody is making you a victim. Hence why most women don't even choose to give that. Let me give their story.
This is some comments that I have and that I picked up also over the discussion. One is from Latifa Kienja. She says, first, stop saying things like, me, I can have that babe whenever I want and do whatever with her. She says that's where it all starts. And she also points to the fact that why are employers also still keeping rapists in the organization?
Yes.
And for what reason exactly? And then she mentioned the thing you're talking about of it has, according to her, it says it has nothing to do with she's someone's sister, mother, nini, but everything to do with that first, like Roy says, she's a human being first, and every human being deserves to be treated with a level of decency.
Yes.
Then Nyoka Bindani says, I love this discussion, and let's also not forget that there were some 19 boys who were sodomized in Kitale. Let's talk about harassment also happening in public transport.
Yeah.
And Jeremy says, I think what Sheila is saying is true, and these are some of the excuses that I always hear. So keep talking to us using the hashtag ManCave, and also send us an SMS on 22422. Roy, you
let's address that one for the Matatu first. Sorry, the Matatu.
The 19 boys.
Yeah.
Right.
No, not the 19 boys.
What's happening in Matatus?
Matatus.
Okay.
Public transport. You don't even know me. We've never met. I'm here just doing public things, just as you are. I'm trying to get home. But for some strange reason, you'll feel like you need to put your hands on me. Nini nakusumbua. Why don't you have male role models who will teach you better? Or is this what your male role models are teaching you? The problem lies with men. Why don't you have these conversations? From the beginning, every single time we're having conversations here, it's the fact that there's no real role models. That's it.
I think we've talked about, you see, we're going around saying that you guys don't talk. And I think the first thing we did, Willis, is when we turned to this conversation, he said, we don't. I accepted it. We didn't even have a discussion about that. That doesn't have to be written as a rule any further because we have accepted it. That is a very serious problem that we don't have that conversation. And I've said, what other things can we add on? Because that one is a given. It has to happen. We have to sort out that. Right? We need to be strong enough to talk to our friends, despite what they look like. Even if Willis looks like this, I need to be able to face him. I know sometimes it's hard to look at you direct in the eye and actually have this conversation.
That's actually another thing. It's rare to find men who talk and look at themselves in the eye.
But I think we need to have that conversation.
There's also something interesting about that, and which is inherent in men, which I think should not be the case. And Sheila mentioned it, the fact that when you're out there having a drink with the boys, there is never a discussion about it's always bibi yangu ananifanyia hivi, football nini nilifanyika hivi. So like you're saying, we're not having the conversation.
And then the conversations you're having, are they empowering? Are you encouraging men to respect women?
Like what Latifah was saying,
or are you the same person for sharing messages about, because let's be real, you want to know where these problems stem from. Look at your friends. Look at the kind of conversations you're having. If I was in a group, WhatsApp group with my girlfriends, and all we're talking about is, you know, look at this gadget. Machine gun, pistol, you know, because that's how you're looking at women. How do you think you can objectify me and then move your mind to see me as a woman? You think you can, you really think that you can split your mind like that? No. The conversations you're having, how you're treating your private time with your boys and talking about women, it does come out. You are encouraging that stereotype. You're encouraging more of this bad behavior to happen.
I think we've accepted the nature of it. And one thing we should not try and do is don't try and make logic of a rapist. Don't say, why are you doing this, why are you doing that? Because as we sit here, us guys are very clean guys, and we're not going to try and figure out how someone's a criminal. You know, there's a thief at the bank. Yeah, I'm not going to have to spend. There's no time you go to court, and when the thief is being interviewed by the judge discusses. So you're stealing $3 million. Why? Because I had to pay for this school fees or this amount. Okay, now the sense. We're not trying to make sense out of the crime. The crime is a crime. Let's try and make sense out of the solution and where the problem is still. I think Latifa brought a very strong point again. She said, you see that nature, and that topic has to be had. Where she said, because nimemfanyia, and I'm saying that's where there's a huge point. Because let's look at a problem we can manage, or we can discuss the point we can manage. I'm not going to justify horrible behavior. I'm going to justify the fact that what can I do? One, have conversations. Two, go to the core of what is the excuse that's been given for this kind of behavior. Yeah. A lot of times this excuse is centering on because I have gotten, because I have bought, because I want. And then I say, okay, then we're going deeper into the problem. Because we're going to understand the problem. Let's not just sort out the surface issues. Mistreating me, touching me, that's wrong. So we're not sorting the problem. To understand a problem, you have to go deep and see the insights of what is causing it. Don't sort the scratch in Willis's hair because of his lies.
But right.
I find out where Willis is getting lies from, and we can sort out the problem. You go deeper, you start realizing where the excuses are coming from. What's the excuse? Commodity. But right. And that's why I say we need to start respecting some of these things. Even as men, if we sit and respect it and realize that we are not, when you're in a relationship with a woman in a bedroom, it is not a product you bought. And I think that's where the core problem is. That Latifa herself said it. And she's a woman. And she says that we hear the same things. Nilifanya, nilibe. They think that they own a commodity, and therefore a commodity once bought can be abused.
Right, let me ask a question. Because today's topic is, do men understand consent? This is not about rape. It's not about rape or rape.
They don't understand.
No, because you're saying that you know everybody knows that this is wrong. Is that true? No, I don't think.
There's nobody who doesn't know whether rape is not.
So no, Roy. The fact that it keeps happening and happening and happening. So you want to tell me that we all know that what you like, even that person who's grabbing your material in the office or saying, you're already in my house. What did you expect? You know, like ulikubali kwa club. Drink. So hapa mambo inen. That person, I don't think they understand what consent is. Or if they do, I don't think they've been told that you need to exercise consent. Because every single time these stories, majority of the time, it's, you know, you got there and then he insisted. Even in marriages, we hear of people, you know, complaining that they've been raped by their husband. And someone is like, your husband? So clearly guys don't understand the concept of consent. And that's why we're here.
But that's why we're saying the reason why men don't understand consent. We've gone to why. When I keep saying, because they think they're bought a commodity. And when commodities are bought, people feel they can use them the way that. That's why they don't understand consent. They think it's a purchase product, therefore, I have the right to it. Yeah, we have to first get out and clear the state. From now on, let's understand it is not a purchase product. Therefore, that's where consent. Since it's not purchased, you can only use when are allowed to, because you've not bought anything.
There's an interesting thing that somebody has posted here, and he's talking about, well, he takes it to another level out of this conversation. So he talked about, he says that there is no real gender equality, and this is the arguments he gave. He says, let's talk about gender equality. So he says, women are brave if they hit men. Then men are evil and brutal if they hit women. He says, women are romantic if they suddenly kiss men. Men are perverted if they suddenly kiss women. Then he also talks about, let's split the bill, which we've often had the conversation here. That somebody says that means she's independent. Let's split the bill on the man's side. Yeah, they say that's cheap. Yeah, those are just some of the comments we made. Some of them I can say.
And that's true. And that's true. And that's the most unfortunate thing. But I just want to say that that doesn't go for every woman. That goes for women who've decided. And I always have this argument that, ladies, we really do need to step up, you know. When we're asking for, you know, there's a difference between equity and equality. Yeah? Most people are asking for equality, forgetting that equity is what you need. You want to have that empowerment to be able to do, like you're Joe Boeing. I always bring up this point. We've gone to the same school. We finished high school. Like, we've gone to university. You've gotten your grind over here, citizen. I've gotten my grind somewhere else. Why is it that when we sit on the table, you're the one who has to pay the bill? Yeah? Because first, it used to be that men are the ones who make the money. Not anymore. Now we are also here out here making our money. Now, if you've chosen that your life is to be dealt, you know, for the man to take care of you, please deal with all those other things. And unfortunately, you're also spoiling for us, the rest of us here, because when I'm asking for you to treat me like equally, and I'm not saying that now even me I start growing a beard or something like that. No, you have your biology, I have my biology, but that's where it ends. We need to start having respect for each other, and we need to start asking for respect as well. You can't ask for respect when you're doing some other disrespectful stuff, saying at and that's why the argument will be like, a guy feels like he has bought it. Bought. I don't care whether you bought for me a Mercedes Benz. When we get there, we can get even to the bed. Pack over your fulana, eh? Na nikisema, eh? I don't call it what it is. Your jack, check it. You wear your jacket. Na bado niseme, I think nataka kwenda home. It's my right. It is my right. And we forget everything else that has been said to do, buying, selling, blah blah blah. The most important thing here is we need to start teaching boys that your body is your temple. The other person's body is their temple. For you to get into that temple, you need to request. That's it. If the request is no, you leave it. It's like a friend request on Facebook. You can't now force your way in. Amekata, amekublock, move on in life. Yeah.
I think we have already established, again I keep saying we've already established the fact it's wrong. Someone's body needs to be respected. Me, I always try to go back and see, and then because of why, and I said that mentality of property and buying and selling, she has now begun to accept one thing. When women set the wrong precedents, and I keep saying 99.9.96599999, and I forgot another 2.99, it is a guy. Period. There's no excuse for it. That 0.0001 is our hope. That also we are asking ourselves, can women do something? Or are they going to sit there for long and wait for us to have a conversation as men? Because us guys seem to be doing a very bad job of not having this conversation. Me and Willis will try. But I'm saying because we're not doing this job, then we say, women also start setting a precedent of no. In the sense that, not in terms of the body, in the sense that the woman will not treat herself like a commodity, and therefore give no man the right to ever treat her like one. For example, having conversations where you've seen, again, Latoya talked about property and use of body, and Latifa, sorry. And at the end of the day, when I started going, it was like I was talking about rappers. Anyway, when you go into this conversation where, it's very simple, that I begin to start saying, what kind of guy I can give myself for, all those kind of conversations in a pub. What tends to happen is, then guys begin to now start mistreating that kind of a woman. Whether they're 3% or 4%, then those 2-3% who are talking like that create a precedence to go all over the place. In short, we're guilty. There's no other story towards it, Willis. But I'll ask the ladies to do the little they can, because they can't do much about the situation. But it's one, start treating themselves, the ones who are there today, the ones who are setting the wrong precedent that we're property to be bought or not. Because there are some people who are placing themselves like that. And then two, for us guys to have our conversation about understanding we're not buying products in the market.
Can I just finish by saying, I think for this particular issue, I really want to address the guys, because I know this show is for guys, and mostly guys are watching. First, I wanted to come out very categorically and very clear that it is not your fault if anyone does anything to you sexually that you did not ask. You didn't in any way ask for it, whether you went there paka ukajipeleka paka ukatwanguo paka alafu kusema no, you didn't do it. It's not your fault. It's the person who did it who we need to address. And that's why I want to address the guys. Guys, start talking about women in positive light. Like if you find a guy who's fine, there are so many bad crazy women out there, but they did not ask. Even if ametwanguo, she did not ask to be raped. Okay? She did not ask to be sexually harassed. If you find yourself in the office grabbing some chiles, body parts and whatnot, and making sexual jokes in the office, you're a perpetrator. You're the perpetrator that we're talking about. And you have repeat tendencies. You need to chill. It's the truth. It's the truth. We need to address it. If you guys don't want to have the conversation, then let me have this conversation with you. respect yourself as men and go and have this conversation with your man friend. If you have that man who he thinks that he can talk to women about nini, be responsible, because he's talking about your mom, he's talking about your wife, and he's talking about your sister, and it doesn't matter, he's talking about a human being. Yes.
Right.
I believe in very strict punishment. I keep saying a lot of the crime is decided by how you punish it. If you're going to lock up a guy for 20 years because he's stolen a chicken, yeah, and then let someone just pull something out of the bank, a few $1 million which he can't even count. He's still counting it for about 2 months after he's stolen it. And then we're going to set a precedent where crime pays. If we're not punishing it, we start by if we're not punishing it. And punishing it comes from 2 levels, from the administrators and from your fellow peers. How our friends deal with a friend who has done it. Because as one thing I'd rightfully admit to Sheila is that you find these incidences where a guy has done this, he still maintains his friends.
His job,
he doesn't
everything.
He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't lose his friends. Which is shocking.
They start telling them that the Chiles is extorting him. Yeah.
So his friends still remain. He gets no punishment. If the punishment is extreme, and it starts by us guys as friends saying, you know what, we're not in that rapey club she talks about, and we have left the rapey club and we're going to join somewhere else, fair enough. Yeah? So for me, I still believe crime pays until we prove otherwise. Until we prove otherwise. We have to be the ones to sit there and say, you know what, an extreme form of punishment is the only thing that gets things recognized. If you keep letting it slide, why is corruption, why does corruption exist the way it does? It exists in organizations or institutions where people let it slide. The day something happens and it's not let to slide, everyone wakes up and changes. That's why Africa is where it is. Because in Africa we let a lot slide. And for us guys, how are we letting this slide? Is by us not having conversations amongst our friends who belong to that. From the side of the women, I'm going to ask them self-respect. So that self-respect starts from adult. It doesn't matter. I've agreed with Sheila, it doesn't matter whether I don't respect myself, doesn't mean you should disrespect me.
Yes.
That is agreed upon. All we're encouraging is to make it stronger, make our argument stronger. Also that self-respect, of also treating yourself, not treating yourself like a commodity.
I'm just going to keep saying here, Roy, you are the victim, whether it happens to you or not, and no means no.
Right.
Yes.
But definitely there's no excuse to that. A no is a no.
Yes.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether I disrespect myself, it doesn't give you a right to disrespect me.
Yes.
Right. All right, so of course that's how we're going to end the conversation. Remember, we have to end the rape culture. Some of the suggestions that were made is there needs to be more punitive measures put in place. Some of these people still have their jobs and, like Roy said, their friends. And let's step up as men to start having the conversations and calling each other out whenever these things happen. And also to respect ladies. And as Sheila said, as everybody said, no means no.